I'm here with Loren Toolin. Loren is a senior para yoga teacher. She heads the certification program for para yoga. And Loren mentored me through my certification program. And I learned a lot in that experience. Loren has a ton of experience in teaching and has years of study of yoga and has been involved with para yoga for many years and the Himalayan tradition through the Himalayan Institute as well. So I'd like to ask Loren a few questions about the role of a teacher and a few others. So we'll start there. So thanks, Loren, for taking the time to do this interview. So can you tell us what, in your view, is the role of a teacher?
Well, thank you, Loren. It's the two Lorens here. I'm happy to be talking about this topic because specifically as it relates to yoga, there's such a broad breadth of how we could define this answer. What is a yoga teacher? And I think if you go to just sort of a listing of the qualities of what a teacher might be for you, it's someone who has an interest in your evolution, in your health, and in your safety, first and foremost. I think it's important that even if it's just that relationship of an hour a week or 2 hours a week, that there is that back and forth, that you are seen. I don't think you could call someone who doesn't see you your teacher. I think that's pretty important. That infers that there's a little bit of a responsibility on the teacher's part to see you and to the degree that it's appropriate, again, facilitate your evolution, to take care of you, but not in a parental or a codependent way. Next, I see a teacher as someone who challenges you, who doesn't just say everything's great, there's always a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and you are that pot. That the teacher is a little provocative and with a sense of safety, and again, your best self, the intention of having your best self come out. I think that they should provoke you to challenge you out of sort of your torpor or your habits. Right. Whether that's through humor or compassion, it may not even be a direct conversation. It's just something that happens when they're delivering the teachings that provokes you. How does a pearl get formed? This beautiful thing, this coveted, graceful bit of nature. It's because there's an irritation in the oyster that creates this change, that creates this object. So I think that that's another important kind of aspect of what a teacher can and should be. And lastly, and there's many more things we could go over, but lastly, I think the teacher should really be qualified to call themselves a teacher. And that said, they have to be a practitioner first. So if the only time that they're in their yoga, wearing their yoga pants, if you will, is when they're in front of you on the mat, that's not really a teacher. That's an instructor, a leader. They may be inspirational to you, but if you're really seeking lasting change, transformation, transmutation of darkness into light, that teacher has to be have already done a good amount of that work ahead of you, so that the way is paved for you, and they sort of been there, done that, and they're not coming from an egoic place.
And I think this is part of the para yoga journey for sure, and through our practice we inspire others. And
Absolutely.
I think that resonates with them when they see and feel that you're doing your work, mm-hmm. and that inspires them to do their work. Perfect. So if someone was choosing a teacher, be it to attend a yoga class, for example, or perhaps even venture into doing more in-depth training, be it workshops or certification, what would you say someone might want to consider when choosing a teacher?
Well, I think I would discourage kind of that dilettantism that so much of our culture encourages, of getting a lot of different experiences and digging a lot of shallow holes. I think there needs to be a certain chemistry, and I'm not speaking of romantic relationship chemistry, but a certain chemistry, a certain attraction where you feel like your heart is touched, and you feel like there's a trustful relationship that you can develop. Again, I think street cred is very important. I think you have a right to investigate your teacher's experience and to speak to their other students and see kind of what they're producing in terms of change in the current students that they have. But first and foremost, I think there has to be that connection, what we call diksha in Sanskrit, which is, or even darshan, where there's a light that kind of goes on for you, and that that might not be your forever teacher, but if they strike you in the right place at the right time, and you feel like you could trustfully open yourself to receive those teachings, I think that's the most important thing. That one-to-one, having your heart be touched, and then having that person who you might call your teacher had the knowledge to deliver on that spark and create a lasting flame that's going to create the transformation.
Nice.
Yeah.
And further to that, in Para Yoga, we're very much a lineage-based system of yoga.
Yeah.
So maybe share a little bit of your thoughts on lineage-based training, if you will, or even just instruction, be it classes, and how that can be helpful.
Well, I think a lineage, because I've been doing this for a long time, and I've had 4 primary teachers. The past 13 years has been our mutual teacher, Rod Stryker. But prior to that, I had teachers who offered tremendous skills to me to be able to work with students. A lot in terms of alignment and things like that. But where I really got traction was when I found the Himalayan Institute in 2000 and became initiated, because there's such a depth. There's such a depth of knowledge. There's in a lineage, there's an authenticity that passes from teacher to student to teacher to student. So not one single individual owns this. So I think that's very, very important. A lineage is not a brand. They could be both, but there's that sense of symbiosis, that what's being delivered by the teacher who's in a lineage, it's just been handed down, and there's so much more that can be revealed, and I think that's it's comforting and exciting at the same time. Again, this idea of that some people say a lineage, they might equate that with a cult. I don't really see that happening. I see that as you sort of become a spiritual family, and that's what a lineage can. That's the promise that it can hold for you. And if you're just bouncing around, there's a lot of fun in that, and you might be averse to going into something that's dogmatic or too strict, or that's going to tell you what to do or how to live your life. But I think a lineage-based tradition will help you not to dissipate energy and not to sort of waste time, because there's so much there that's instructional for you that you can then imbue yourself with and live. So for me, having been in both worlds in terms of the yoga thing, lineage is just the place to be, because I feel like I'm not wasting a lot of time and energy.
There's a certain efficiency, which is one of the things that we're talking about with a Tantra approach, is being efficient and emulating nature and her capacity to do what she needs to do and nothing more.
Exactly.
Right? So, and the other thing that I've noticed in our in this lineage is there isn't dogma. There's so much latitude in terms of how you fit, where you fit. But the beauty of it is that we all are shining in our own unique and beautiful ways.
And that's the thing, is that this is actually a very, very modern take on an ancient tradition, is that we all do have our own voice. We all do have our own beautiful form of self-expression, and we all are both inspired by the lineage, and we inspire ourselves
Right.
to just live in the way that lets us shine best, and then we can share it with everyone around us.
Well, that's great. I really thank you for your wisdom here, and hope that the listeners have gleaned something that resonates with them. So
I
thanks
hope so
much.
too. And just to conclude, and sort of paraphrasing from my teacher, we just had a conversation yesterday, and he was admonishing his own children, and he would admonish us as well as his students to be excellent at something. And so, I would encourage that. Whatever you think that really drives you towards excellence is something that's really worth pursuing, especially in this day and age where we have so many choices. We have too many choices. We get paralyzed by that. So enjoy, but be excellent too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.